Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. We'll chant Bhaja Govindam verses 26 to 31.
Kamam krodham lobham moham tyaktvatmanam pashyati soham atmajnana vihina mudha te pachyante narakani gudhaha. Geyam Gita Nama Sahasram Deyam Shripati Rupamajasram Neyam Sajjana Sange Chittam Deyam Dina Janaya Chavittam Sukhata Kriyate Rama Bhogaha Paschadanta Sharire Rogaha Yadyapi loke maranam sharanam tadapi na munchati papacharanam Arthamanartham bhavaya nityam nasti tata sukalesha satyam Putradapi dhana bhajam bhitihi sarvatraisha vihitaritihi Pranayamam pratyaharam nitya nitya viveka vicharam Japya sameta samadhi vidanam kurvavadanam mahadavadanam Guru charanambuja nirbharasaktaha samsaradhachirat bhavamuktaha Sendriyamanasaniyamadevam Drakshasi nijahridayastam devam.
In the 27th shloka that we have done last of Bhaja Govindam, he gives Bahiranga Sadhana. Bahiranga Sadhana means external disciplines. We have time and again seen that when we talk about freedom or moksha, what are we freeing ourselves from? We are freeing ourselves from ignorance of our true self. So what can free us from the ignorance of the true self? It is the knowledge of the true self. And for the knowledge of the true self to be happening in us, for the knowledge to get established in us, we need to follow certain sadhanas, disciplines, at the external level, body level, mind level, intellect level, both externally and internally. Little deeper sadhanas are also there, which he mentions later. So, all these sadhanas you have to do consistently, then the knowledge will get established in you. Till then, without discipline, if you simply acquire information through the scriptures, it will be like water sprinkled on a hot plate. It will just evaporate. It won't be of any use to you. That's why I gave an example also last week. Like in the grinder, there will be one plate that will be pushing the atta, and there will be one grinding, stone in between, which will be grinding. So both has to happen. You have to follow the sadhana and gain knowledge. Sadhana, gain knowledge. Sadhana, gain knowledge. And do this consistently. Then you will evolve spiritually, and also to the extent you evolve spiritually, to that extent you develop a lot of calmness and clarity with reference to dealing with situations in the world. So in the world also, you will be able to be peaceful and prosperous. This is the way to evolve, both spiritually and materially. So he says, study the Bhagavad Gita, Sahasranama. Generally, Sahasranama, they mean Vishnu Sahasranama, but there are a lot of Sahasranamas. And I told you, even we did Vishnu Sahasranama class, so Vishnu Sahasranama, or for that matter, any Sahasranama, when you chant, there are a lot of tongue twisters. So you develop a lot of Vak Shuddhi. And then there is thought Shuddhi that happens, purification of the mind. Emotions get purified. And then your action starts getting purified as the inner personality starts getting purified. So, chanting Vishnu Sahasranama is a great discipline, any Sahasranama for that matter. It is helpful in preparing the personality. And then studying the knowledge, Bhagavad Gita is giving it as an example. You can study Upanishads, anything, but Bhagavad Gita is meant for a person who is in the world. Upanishads are meant for a person who is more evolved. You understand? So, in today's context, people find it even difficult to study Bhagavad Gita. Oh, 700 slokas. Please, can you? And also it's in Sanskrit. I want to do something in English. So Swamiji wrote this book called Vedanta Treatise. Vedanta Treatise, the Eternities. Now this Vedanta Treatise, Eternities, is given the same philosophy that is given in the Bhagavad Gita, Upanishads, Brahma Sutra and all that is given in Vedanta Treatise. Nothing new is given. But only thing is, it is given in a very systematic order. From the fundamental to the subtle concepts. It takes you from the known to the unknown. It's given out in the contemporary language and thought with a lot of modern examples. So we are able to understand the philosophy easily. You understand? So when he says Bhagavad Gita, you can also say Vedanta Treatise. Basically, you need to study knowledge, gain knowledge. Bhagavad Gita Sahasranama should be chanted, studied. Form of the Lord of Lakshmi, Lakshmi Pati, should be meditated always. He's talking about Upasana. After Jnanam, another sadhana that is emphasized is Upasana. Upasana is a mental worship which you keep an idol and worship that idol physically also and mentally also. So that sadhana of mentally worshipping a form, directing all your thoughts to that form representing the ideal, the reality, that sadhana is called Upasana. So it's a devotional practice. Our mind is today entertaining all kinds of forms. In the world today, the forms that we really think of all the time is probably the movie stars or politicians or something pertaining to the world, big businessmen, economists, sports stars, etc., etc. So slowly you should bring in the form of the Lord, Lakshmi Pati. Today our thought is in Lakshmi, money. You understand? It should go to Lakshmi Pati, the Lord of Lakshmi, Narayana. And then physically you should keep an environment of good people around you. Always satsang, good thoughts, very, very important to maintain good thoughts. For that, keeping good people around you is also very important. If people around you all the time are talking only material stuff, your mind will also be dwelling on the material aspects only. Isn't it? See, even when you, after standing in the queue in Tirupati Balaji for so many hours, after getting closer to the Sanctum Sanctorum and seeing the Lord, the form of the Lord, you may be seeing what ornaments is he wearing. You understand? If you see the two palms with which he shows, one is, he says, okay, if you are submitting to me, I bless you. And the other is, I'm giving you a lot of good things for you. You understand? Instead of submitting and surrendering, we may be looking at the jewelries that the Lord is wearing, the form is wearing, So where is the focus? So therefore he says, keep good company. And then whatever wealth you earn, he's already mentioned it in the previous slokas. If you remember in the very beginning he mentioned, dharmically you earn wealth. And that wealth that you have dharmically earned, you should also distribute it to the needy. In other words, do not keep more than what is necessary. And that what you keep should be something that is good enough for you to pursue the sadhana. More than that, there is no need to keep. The moment you keep more means your mind is in future. The mind is in future means you are identified with this false personality, ego. Mujhe kya hoga? You understand? So therefore you have still not, even to that extent, not turned spiritual either. Therefore he says, this another important discipline he mentions is dhanam. I mentioned to you in the Bhagavad Gita, he says, you should not give up yajna, dana, tapa. Dhanam, physically giving material stuff is what is generally understood. But any giving, whether you give material stuff, or you give physical work, or you give emotional solace, or you give intellectual knowledge, or finally you can give up your ego. Totally giving up of your ego through the knowledge. That's the ultimate sacrifice. So yajna, dana, tapa, austerity. You must lead a frugal life. Because the mind, when it is given too much of pampering, it seldom seeks the reality. It seldom seeks the reality. If you become too comfortable, you don't grow. Even in the material world, if you become too comfortable, you don't grow. You understand? That's why in some of the big corporations, if it's run by family, they don't allow the children to become too comfortable in the organization. So they start something new, put them into difficulty, and then they will strive and then they'll come up. Otherwise, if you give them too much of a comfort, the growth will be obstructed, They won't grow. Any one of us, if we put ourselves in too much of comfort, very difficult, we won't grow. Thoda bahut difficulty hona chahiye. Mind becomes too complacent when you give it too much of a comfort. So yajna, dana, tapa should not be given up. So all these sadhanas was mentioned. Now from 28 till 31, the last 4 shlokas remaining in the Bhagavad Gita, Bhaja Govindam, it is attributed to Adi Shankara himself. The 4 shlokas are given by Adi Shankara, the Guru, giving the final piece of advice and blessings to the Sishyas to liberate. So let's get on to shloka number 28.
Sukhata kriyate rama bhogaha paschadanta sharire rogaha yadyapi loke maranam sharanam tadapi namunchati papacharanam.
One happily takes to carnal pleasure. Rama bhogaha, carnal pleasure. Reveling in bhoga. Bhoga means carnal pleasure. So, sukata kriyate rama bhogaha. One happily takes to carnal pleasure. Alas, later on, the body becomes diseased. Paschad hanta sharire rogaha. Although death is the end in the world, yadyapi loke maranam sharanam. Tadapina munchati papa charanam. Even then one does not leave his sinful ways. So what he's saying is, how much ever we gain this knowledge, how much ever we are reminded of the power of senses, we tend to slight it, we tend to take it too easily. I can handle, not a big deal. I've heard many people say, I can give up smoking anytime. Not a big deal at all. Those fellows will find it very difficult to give it up. See, why is there a rush towards sense objects? It gives you instant pleasure. Isn't it? Immediately it gives you pleasure. Whereas, if you want to draw the real happiness from this world, from within you, you need to put in a lot of efforts. Sadhana. Isn't it? Now, for example, straight away without any exercising, if you contact food, sweets, you'll enjoy. But if you continue lifestyle like that, slowly you'll develop a lot of disease. And you will not be able to contact them. Contact the sweets, isn't it? Whereas, if you put in efforts, do exercise, and then contact. Firstly, the fact that you were regulating your contact, you will enjoy even more than the other fellow. Secondly, the fact that you are doing exercise and all that, you will have the capacity to enjoy it for much longer time. Isn't it? So, but still, which one would a lot of people prefer? They will prefer the instant pleasure without putting in any effort. Isn't it? So that's what he's saying. He's cautioning. The senses in the outside world are extremely tempting. And from within you have tremendous desires. So there is a push from within and there is a pull from outside. In this push and pull, we all get lost. So therefore he says, one happily takes to carnal pleasure. But later on what happens? What is the ultimate result? He says, the body becomes diseased. First of all, when a person, see, there are only two motivations mostly we are all stuck in, which is what he's been constantly cautioning. What is that? Acquisition, enjoyment. In this shloka, he's talking about enjoyment. In the next shloka, he'll talk about acquisition. He'll caution against both. And then he will get on to talking about deeper sadhana. And then final verse, the Guru blesses the student to put in the effort and realize the self. See, there is always two paths confronting us every given minute, every given second. What is it? The path of pleasant and the path of good. The path of pleasant is always attractive. The path of good is not so attractive in the beginning. You understand? So, many of us, we don't need any training, nothing. Do you need any training for indulgence? You don't. But for developing self-control, you need practice. Isn't it? So therefore what happens? We give in to sense pleasures easily. It pulls a success in. Majority is gone. So he says, one happily takes to carnal pleasure. Alas, later on the body becomes diseased. Completely, it may give you instant pleasures. But then slowly, lot of disease and suffering, finally ending in death. Finally ending in death. So you have to be very careful. That's all he's saying. Even though death is the end in the world, nobody asks, is this the end all and be all of life, or is there something beyond all this? So therefore he says, even then one does not leave this sinful way. See, how powerful is this samsara? How powerful is this maya? There's a very interesting story given. It talks about a man who had to cross a forest, jungle, to go to work and return also. He has to cross this forest and get back to his house. One day he was getting back, it got late. So he was almost walking in the jungle in the night. And he was so scared, and suddenly he saw some wild animal approaching. So he climbed a tree to escape. And the wild animal is come and sitting under the tree. Because the fellow who's gone up has to come down. No? Then I'll take care of this guy. With that hope, the wild animal is sitting down. And this fellow, in the night, he's climbed the tree with so much of fear. And he sees one snake approaching him from one of the branches. Okay. And in the fear, he's trying to climb even higher and higher. And there was a honeycomb with a lot of honeybees on it. He disturbed it. Inadvertently, without seeing it, he disturbed it. Now when he disturbed it, all these honeybees are coming and stinging him. There is a wild animal below. There is a snake approaching him. And the honeybees are stinging. When this whole tamasha is going on, little bit of honey is dropping from that honeycomb. So this man is sticking out his tongue to taste it. That powerful is the senses. You understand? It is so powerful. For example, a person may be suffering from serious sugar condition, diabetes. And still, when that person sees some sugar, in spite of all the suffering, he may still take it. Isn't it? He knows how much he is suffering. But it's very difficult to control. That's all he says. Even then, one does not leave these sinful ways. See, sinful ways means, we have already discussed, anything comes back and hits you with agitation. Shastras call it as sinful. Masters call it as sinful. You do something, it should bring joy, peace, happiness, harmony. But if it comes back and hits you with agitation, then it's sin. So we say that sin is not in the action, it is in the reaction. You do an action, basically like, for example, chasing your desires. Perform desire-ridden activities. What will happen? You will be constantly afraid whether you will fulfill it. Even if you fulfill it, you don't know whether it will be retained. So there is constant agitation. So indulgence only produces negative results. If at all it gives maybe immediate pleasure, but in the long run it only gives you pain. So there is a way to contact the sense world. The way to contact the sense world is already what I mentioned to you. You lead a disciplined life so that you retain the capacity to enjoy the senses always. And in the mind, if the senses are there, when you contact the sense object, you are contacting with tremendous craving. See, just think about this. A person who is running and contacting the sense object, let's take the example of sweets. With so much of craving, as the person is opening the wrap, the paper around the sweet, he is craving to eat it. So he just eats it with tremendous craving. And hardly he is mindful while eating. Isn't it? Hardly that person is mindful while contacting the sweet. So to the extent he is not mindful, to that extent he is not going to register. Correct or not? To that extent he is not going to register. So therefore, the pleasure that he gets out of that sweet lasts very short duration. The craving for it comes much faster. Whereas, if you contacted that sweet mindfully, the craving for it, if at all it comes, it will come little later. Because you have resisted every bit of it. Isn't it? See, very, very interesting psychology. For example, mangoes, it comes only during certain seasons. So, all other seasons you are made to withdraw from mango. In other words, it's not available. So, when the mango season comes, the very first mango when you contact, there is tremendous pleasure. There is tremendous pleasure. Because of so much of withdrawal. Now, then the second mango, third mango, fourth mango, the pleasure has reduced. There comes a time, what we call as nth mango. There is no pleasure, but the mind is craving so much that without mango you will be disappointed. अरे यार सीजन खत्म होने वाली, आज मैंगो भी नहीं लाया, क्या है? You understand? It's not as if the mango you are enjoying, like you enjoyed it on the first day, but still without it, you are not happy. With it you are not enjoying, without it you are not happy. What is that condition? Sinful condition, like he says. But on the contrary, after contacting the first mango, you give a little break, you do mind your other work and everything, and also continue doing your walking and all that. And then after certain duration, if you contact it, you'll really enjoy it again. Isn't it? So in fact, this way when you begin to live your life, you will be enjoying because you will be mindfully contacting, because you are not contacting with craving propelling you. You understand? Craving is not propelling you. Swamiji used to say, before he started ashram, and he during his sadhana times, he was in another ashram, learning under the Guru, Swami Chinnananda. Apparently there, they don't have breakfast during his time. I don't know what it is now. During his time, they have only lunch at 12 o'clock. And morning, a cup of tea. Before that, previous night, 8 o'clock or so, they had dinner. Light dinner. That's all, every day. And in the morning, they have a lot of other work they do. They're studying, walking, yoga, whatever. So, by the time it's 12 o'clock, everybody is really hungry and looking forward for food. Even on a paper, you write FOOD, they'll eat. That much ravenous they are. You understand? And then, all of them sit down, it seems. And then, on the plate or banana leaf, food is served. Every item is served, whatever they cooked on that day. And they are not supposed to immediately eat. They are supposed to chant the entire 15th chapter of the Gita, which has 20 shlokas. And it has to be chanted in a proper meter, not very fast. You understand? So 20 shlokas of chapter 15 of the Bhagavad Gita, they chant and then they eat. So he says, every day it used to be so tasty, whether it was really made tasty or not. You understand? So what really makes you enjoy is that regulated contact. In fact, when you analyze deeply, there is no pleasure in contact. There is no pleasure in contact. It is the withdrawal that makes you enjoy. So, if you do not know this technique, that's why in the book Vedanta Treatise, he says renunciation is joy. The enjoyment is in renunciation. Renunciation means what? You resign everything to divinity. out of knowledge. You understand that nothing in this world is mine. Everything is nothing but Bhagavan in different name and form. So there is no mental craving. There is no mind running. I have to eat, I have to eat, I have to taste. I must get more than others. There is no such craving. You relax. The more you relax, you are tremendously mindful. With absolute mindfulness, when you contact, you register every bit of it. You understand? You get tremendous contentment and satisfaction. And you will still retain the capacity to enjoy it for a long time. Whereas the other fellow who completely indulges, that fellow goes through miserable life. Firstly, while he is contacting with so much of craving, he is not mindfully contacting, so he will not enjoy. And this craving starts very fast, very soon, and how much ever he gets, he won't be happy, and it's not possible for him to satisfy his curiosity all the time, so he will be in agitation, frustration. That's what he's explaining here. So this is what he calls a sinful way. See, you should yearn your food, E-A-R-N, not yearn, Y-E-A-R-N. You understand? Do you understand the difference between the two? E-A-R-N. You work for it. You work for it. Whereas the other is mentally you're only craving, yearning. The yearning makes you go and indulge. As a result, you don't really enjoy. If at all you enjoy, it's for very few seconds. And after that, it is all misery, suffering. Shastras are only explaining to us, Baba, listen, there is this path of good, there is this path of pleasant. Path of pleasant is Y-E-A-R-N. Path of good is E-A-R-N. This life is not just merely to fulfill my desires. While there is nothing wrong in fulfilling my desires, this life is not just meant for fulfilling my desires. I have to contribute to this society. Whatever is my nature, the Swadharma, through that I need to contribute to this society. Right? So I continue keeping a goal, work for it, for a common cause. Something beyond my selfish, self-centered interest. Then from whatever I get out of it, when I contact any sense object, I am not contacting because my mind propelled me to go and contact it, as though it is end all and be all of life. Isn't it? So I am now contacting for survival purpose, for transactional purpose, which is nothing wrong. In fact, when I do that, I have earned my food. I have not been earning for my food, I have earned my food. So then I completely enjoy, and since my mind is not preoccupied with the food, I continue retaining that capacity to enjoy it every time I contact. This is the beautiful way of enjoying. So Bhagavad Gita, scriptures, they teach us how to enjoy life also. Otherwise you think, Bhagavad Gita will make you run away. Spirituality means you will run away. These fellows don't know how to enjoy. Only we are all enjoying. Bichara. Vedanta ashram chale gaya. You understand? You say, Bichara, Vedanta class attend kar raha hai. Kya kare? He is not enjoying life. She is not enjoying life. Actually, that fellow is enjoying. In the academy, there is, our ashram, every Friday night is fasting. Nobody comes and checks whether you keep fasting or not. At least in the kitchen, in the dining hall, there is no food for you. After 4:45, when they give you tea, that's it. Next day morning 5:45 you can get another cup of tea in the kitchen. After that, if you go in between, you can only get water. You may buy something and eat in your room, nobody checks. But if you seriously keep fasting without eating, and next day again you get up in the morning, do your study, you do your yoga, walking, jogging, or any sport, shower, and then come for breakfast, you will not ask what is for breakfast. Whatever they give, that will be the best breakfast you are having or you ever had. You find, you try this out. All along your mind should not be there. That is when it's called as upavas. Otherwise it's not upavas. Upavas is not that you're just somehow frustratingly keeping yourself away from food, but mentally going on thinking about it. That is not upavas. Upavas means residing near. So entertaining the thought of the higher, you withdraw yourself from the lower. And you do it happily. When you live like that, you really enjoy. Every bit of your life you enjoy. So that's all he's saying. Do not take to carnal pleasure before you put your hand on the plate to eat. You should ask yourself, have I earned it? What have I done to take this food? EARN. Right? I am repeating this because my pronunciation may be wrong sometimes. So it should not be misunderstood. Have I earned my food? EARN. Today the mentality is what? Everything I want to get free. Buy one, get two free. And that buying one also, somebody else buys it very good. Why is this mentality? All the time only wanting to enjoy. Therefore, you should understand that the real enjoyment is in sacrifice. In other words, what are you sacrificing? You are sacrificing your little self. What you are sacrificing is your little self. All the time a fellow who is indulging, he is only thinking about satisfying his little self, isn't it? What is pleasing for my little self? I only want to do that all the time. If there is an option to climb staircase and go by lift, which one do we usually choose? Go by lift, even if it's first floor. Forget going up, even coming down, we choose, isn't it? Even though you have to just come down one floor. But if you take that extra effort in using your body, putting in that effort, you continue to enjoy excellent body. Accordingly, you'll enjoy life, isn't it? So that's all he's trying to say. So before any contact, anything, I must ask myself, have I earned this? What have I done to deserve this? What have I done to deserve this? If I have not done enough to deserve it, I will not touch it. You believe me, if you have this attitude, no, it's impossible that you will be unhappy. It is impossible. When you have such an attitude, you cannot suffer, you will not be agitated, you will be happy, peaceful, whether or not you have money. That attitude is what is going to give you that inner contentment. So that's all he's saying. When you take to carnal pleasure without renunciation, with that idea of just merely fulfilling, satisfying your little self with indulgence, then you will go through disease and suffering. You know, even when a sportsman goes to play, he is supposed to properly do warm-up and then go. Sometimes without warm-up, when they go, they may develop cramps, etc. You understand? So the trainer, they will say, you do proper warming up. Even they will not go and play, the players, without warming up. They know very well. So, exactly like that in life. But all this we may know. He says, although death is the end in the world, everybody knows this. But the senses are too powerful. We've been indulging in it for long. Aadat ho gaya. है ना? आदत हो गया. See, our habits are such that every time we stretch out our palms, it's only to take. When you stretch out your palms, it should be to give. You should replace your habit with this kind of habit. When you take, your palm is looking up. When you give, your palm is looking down. You understand? We have to create such an habit. So therefore, Adi Shankara cautions here, don't take this sense pleasure that easily, man. Especially the contact with the opposite sex. It involves all the five senses. Therefore, it's not easy. So all the time, our mind is only entertaining. There is tremendous pressure for pleasure. That's how Swamiji puts it. There is tremendous pressure for pleasure. Why is it so? Somebody goes and asks Swami Ramtirtha, why is it? Swami Ramtirtha says, why will it not be? Because essential nature of every being is bliss. So every being, every minute, they will only be thinking about happiness, pleasure, bliss. So throughout the day, there is constant pressure for pleasure. But there is a technique of getting pleasure. The ignorant fellow doesn't know that technique. So immediately goes and contacts and enjoys. But loses the capacity to enjoy over a period of time, develops a lot of disease. See, just think about it. When you contact mindlessly, what will happen? Will you become satisfied? No, mind will crave for more. Mind is compared with fire. They compared it to fire. Mind is compared to fire. Why? Because fire, how much ever you give, it will want more. It will never be satiated. You know, somebody from California, every time he comes to Delhi, he used to attend my sessions here in Delhi. So, that time, just before he came, there was forest fire there, LA. So I inquired about it to him. What happened? You know, all that. So he said, sir, I have never seen anything like this. You know, in US and all, they have 4 lanes on either side. So it's totally 8 lanes, and then they may have some service lane also. So I think all put together 10 lanes, 5. So the other side of the road was the forest, I believe. And this side of the road, after few meters from the road, was a hospital. The forest fire, after consuming the forest, all the trees, jumped 10 lanes of road and then started consuming the hospital also. The fire jumped because of the wind. Fire jumped from jungle to the hospital. The hospital started, hospital was on fire. So he said, I've never seen something like that. So I'm reminded of that when I talk about fire here. Fire is never satisfied. Arey chalo yaar, we have completely consumed the entire forest. Peak hai. No. Udhar hospital hai na. Udhar bahut sara ghar hai na. Lot of houses are there, lot of hospitals are there, schools are there. Let me consume that also. That's how our mind is. Isn't it? And the world is not designed to cater to one person's desires. So there will be all the time, most of the time, there will be agitations. This is what he's saying. even then one does not leave this sinful way. So if you run after just fulfilling, your whole idea of life is to just fulfill your carnal pleasure, then this is the end you will face. Your mind is not going to become contented. You're going to crave more. And because of indulgence, your body is going to lose the capacity to enjoy. And then when the object is in front of you and you have no capacity to enjoy, what is that? H-E-L-L. Hell. What is hell? You have the desire, the object is in front of you, but you have no capacity to contact. Isn't that hell? And isn't that agitation? Isn't that sin? Isn't that frustrating? Do you want to live such a life? That is what Adi Shankara is asking. So choose wisely. Choose the path of good. Choose the path of good. See, there is a rat when you see Lord Ganesha's picture, there's a rat sitting below his feet and looking up to him, and next to the rat there's a lot of sweet modak, laddus are there. The rat is the most greedy animal. It keeps on hoarding grains and it forgets where it hoarded. Okay. That rat, which is most greedy animal, is looking up to Ganesha. Lord Ganesha represents a perfect human being, man of perfection, self-realized soul. The rat is looking up to Lord Ganesha, the perfect human being, seeking his permission. Can I have the laddus? This is the right way of living. Rat represents your mind, my mind, everybody's mind. The mind in a perfect human being seeks permission from the intellect if it has permission to eat or not. Have I earned it or not? Do I deserve it or not? Have I entertained enough thought of the reality and functioned in the spirit of Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Jnana Yoga in the world or not? Thus, when you think, when you function, you do not have the world dwelling in your mind all the time. Such a person, when he or she contacts with the freedom, that person contacts. The demands and cravings of the mind does not affect that person. On the contrary, the other fellow who's been constantly indulging, the demands and cravings affect that fellow. You understand? It distracts the fellow to work. Not possible. Therefore, he says, please be wary of this power of senses, man. Don't take them lightly. Very, very difficult. Sense distraction is not easy. So many years ago, I remember, I think I was in my 10th standard at that time, and I was preparing for the board exam. You get study holidays. And my mother used to work as a teacher, so she used to go in the morning. My sister had gone to school. There was nobody at home. Those days, one-day cricket used to start in the morning. Day and night and all came much later. So morning 9 o'clock they start one-day cricket match. It ends around 5 o'clock or so. 50 overs. And I told myself that I am only going to study. I am not going to watch cricket. Nothing doing. No cricket. But nobody at home. TV is there, remote is there, everything is there. So exactly around 8:55, the thought comes in the mind. Just switch on the TV and see who won the toss. I think 9:30 or so the match starts, 9 o'clock is the toss. So my mind says, just see who's won the toss. Anyway, you just had breakfast. Thoda bahut aaram karo. देख लो कौन जीता टॉस. Then when I see the toss, India won the toss and elected to bat, which means Indian batting is going to start within 10-15 minutes or so, or half an hour. And those days, Srikanth used to play for India. Within, he may either get out soon or he'll hit every ball. He used to be a big hitter. I said, just one, that first 10 overs or 15 overs, there's a restricted fielding and they whack a lot. They hit the ball for 4s and 6s quite a lot. So that the first 10 overs only I'll watch. After that I will not watch. So then I watch 10 overs. Then I say, Abhi, they are playing very well. Another 5 overs, another 5 overs, another 5 overs. The entire Indian innings I watched. Then lunchtime I had lunch. Then I said, let me see how much this opposition is scoring in the first 10 overs. You won't believe the entire match I watched. I am telling you this now, but that time I was feeling so bad. I said, my God, man, I didn't want to watch. But see what has happened. You understand? It's not easy. I'm only saying this because you have desire. The object is outside in the world. It's very difficult. So you have to really, that's why you have to take the shelter under the Guru, under Shastra, under disciplined living. It's not easy. After so many years of such practice, you might be able to deal with it. In Ramayana, Lord Ram was hiding behind the tree and shot Vali. You know the story, no? Vali, he had a boon that whoever comes to confront him, he gets 50% of their power when they come right in front of him. So supposing you have a 10% share in one company and I am having only 2%. By the time you come in front of me, I will have 7, you will have 3. And you will have 5. You understand? I get 50% of your share. It's like that. Whoever will go in front of Vali, they lose 50% of his power. So obviously he'll win. Any battle he'll win. So what Lord Rama did is, he was hiding behind the tree and he shot Vali. Now, there's a symbolism behind this. Tree, when you say tree, anyone who goes under the tree, it gives shade. Tree will not ask, are you a man or a woman? Are you Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, Brahmana? Kuch nahi. Whoever you are, you've come under me, I will give you protection, shade. This is scriptures. Whoever comes under the protection of the Shastra, scriptures, it gives shade, clarity to deal with the world. So Lord Rama hiding behind the tree represents hiding behind knowledge. And shooting Vali represents lust, sense objects. Tremendous desire for sense objects, which is within us. It's not easy. So therefore, you have to hide behind the tree and then shoot the senses. So hide behind the tree means hide behind the knowledge, hide behind the disciplined way of living, hide behind good people around you for a long period of time, protect yourself, strengthen yourself, then contact. Then you will be okay. Otherwise you are finished. So this is the danger. So sense indulgence gives you instant pleasure. It will slowly start giving you disease and suffering, and finally ending in death with utter discontentment. And this kind of living is what he calls as sinful way of living. While there is another choice where you can blissfully live your life. But for that, thoda bahut mehnat karna padta hai in the beginning. Little bit you got to strengthen the inside. But if you don't do that, then you will suffer. Even when we bring up our children, you got to make them do work little bit. Simple things like washing their own plates, setting their own cupboard. Everything you do it for them. You mean you have people who will do it for them. A fellow grows with so much of dependence. There's seldom any independence in that person, strength in that person. So therefore, he says, you should be wary of indulgence. This is what he cautions in this shloka. In the next two shloka, he cautions against acquisition. These are the two motivating factors, nothing else. Kanchana, Kamini. Kanchana means acquisition. Kamini means indulgence, enjoyment. That's it. We have 5 senses. We want to constantly entertain all the 5 senses. And what we don't understand is, it is temporary, passing, fleeting. In fact, the sense pleasure that we draw from the sense objects is only the shadow or portion of bliss of the Atma that we enjoy there. If you actually see, what happens is, when you contact an object, you are contacting it because you are propelled by a desire. And the desire, the moment you got the desire for the object, you got agitated. With agitation, you are working to get that object. When you get that object and contact, the contact with the object only removes the agitation. It's not giving you pleasure. It only removes agitation. You have come in contact with the bliss which was there always. But you wrongly attribute that bliss to the object, as though the object gave you the bliss. So Vedanta very clearly says there is no joy in the outside world. Take it or leave it, says Vedanta. Do you understand? First of all, you are happy, peaceful. In the peaceful mind, happy mind, suddenly desire for sense object comes. Chocolate. Slowly agitation starts because desire is there. Then you go and contact that particular chocolate that you want. Some other chocolate, you will get more agitated. So same chocolate somebody gives you. You eat it. Joy. What happened? The contact with that sense object removed the agitation temporarily. Right? Then you experience the bliss, happiness which was always there within you. Then, after some time, again the desire for the chocolate comes because you wrongly come to conclusion that the object brought the joy. Contact with the object only removed the agitation created by the very desire for the object. And when the agitation is removed, you experience the bliss within. But you wrongly attribute it to the outside world. You wrongly attribute it to the sense objects outside. Therefore, your mind starts running after that sense object because you think it is coming from there. So you run. You get it. You are not contented. You run more. You run for more. You are not happy with it. You are miserable without it. You are not happy with it and you are miserable without it. This condition is called bondage. This condition is called bondage, no? And most of us are caught in such a living. The way we are living today, the way we are bringing up our children in this world today, it is all like this. आपको पसंद है खा लो, नहीं पसंद है छोड़ दो यार, ये अच्छा भी होगा फिर भी ठीक है, आपको पसंद नहीं ना छोड़ दीजिए. What kind of inner strength are we developing? You understand? Therefore, he cautions against this temptations, this carnal pleasure. One happily takes to carnal pleasure. Alas, later on the body becomes diseased. Although death is the end in the world, even then one does not leave his sinful ways. What to do? Adi Shankara is saying, however we study. So therefore, what he is trying to say is, therefore it's important, again and again he is emphasizing, keep good company, maintain sadhana, don't give up, don't give up, don't give up. Don't give up sadhana, don't give up discipline. This is what is going to make you strong. This is what is going to give you independence. This is what is going to give you that freedom that you are seeking. This is what is going to enrich your life. You take it or leave it. Choice is yours. Let's conclude. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Kayena Vacha Manasendriyairva Buddhyatmana va Prakriti Swabhavat Karomi Adyad Sakalam Parasmai Narayana Yeti Samarpayami.